Hey friends, welcome back to day 2 of our Lose Weight This Week 5-day mini course for fat loss. I hope you discovered a lot about yourself yesterday as you strived to meet your calorie goal, as you noticed what it was doing with your body, noticed how you felt, noticed what it was like to try and do all of that for the first day of this week. Want to remind you that this is about learning and getting curious, even more than seeing the scale change, because as you begin to learn and experience more in this process, that knowledge is going to be gold for you to be able to take and run with once this free mini course for fat loss is over. So today we're going to be building upon what we learned and talked about yesterday, which was the fat loss process. Today we're going to be looking at ramping up your results by tracking data and keeping yourself accountable. The one thing you need for a successful weight loss, remember that from yesterday, is the right calorie deficit. That's the most important factor of this. Tracking is the only sure way to know that you're getting that exact right deficit. If you don't know what's going in, there's no way to know if you're actually hitting your number or not. What gets measured gets managed. That's true for everything in life, especially when it comes to what we put in our mouth and our weight loss. And when you actually observe and start tracking your food and tracking what goes in your mouth, it's kind of neat how that creates its own accountability. You start to think twice about, oh, I'm just going to pop in a Hershey's Kiss. Oh, I'm just going to do this. I'm just going to, you start to actually have to think, oh, do I really want to track that? And it's going to change some of your decisions by default. The truth is that tracking works. Science proves it. And I am here to teach you how to efficiently get to where you want to go without a whole lot of extra headaches. And this is one of the biggies. Here's an example of a study that was done at Duke University last February, was when they published this. And they basically said, without following any particular diet, this didn't have to do with low carb, high carb, intermittent fasting, none of that. Overweight people who tracked daily food consumption using a free smartphone app lost a significant amount of weight. The difference is when you start to observe what's going in your mouth, you make different choices. When you start to hold yourself accountable, then you start to be able to free yourself to make the choices you need and show up and take the actions you need to take to actually be successful. Tracking works. Tracking will change your experience. So today, it's my intention that when you leave this training, you'll be able to understand how food tracking is your biggest tool. It is one of your biggest assets to burn fat. And it's worth it to spend some time to really learn and to get that skill under your belt, even if it's a little bit of a learning curve, so that it can become effortless later, because it's going to be huge in your ability to manage your weight and burn fat in this weight loss journey. Just a reminder, I'm going to try to keep this a lot shorter than yesterday. We don't have quite as much material to cover, but for the next 10 minutes, if you could, close your email, close your browser, ask the kids not to kill themselves. I know sometimes that's a tall order because my kids are crazy too, but you deserve to give yourself the focus over the next 10 minutes to really get the most out of what we're doing here together this week. So imagine for a second if you had a repeatable way to get results and you knew you could get those repeatable results every single time you tried it. You didn't have to go through the fad diets or try all the stuff your friend was recommending. You can just say, I'm going to do this. This is my calorie goal. This is my calorie range. This is what I have to do. Works every single time. Boom. Efficiency, right? How freeing would that be? Imagine if you knew exactly what worked and what didn't for your body. So you didn't have to go around the mountain with the whole, should I eat carbs? Should I not eat carbs? Should I go vegan? None those question marks were all solved for you. What if you knew what you needed to do to get unstuck if you came to a place where suddenly things weren't working like they used to? This is all possible. This is all part of the stuff I want to teach you today. The one thing that keeps people stuck with weight loss all comes back to not tracking data. They don't know what's going on. They're just kind of flying blind, winging it every single day. I'm just not eating carbs. I don't know what I am eating. I don't know how much fat I'm putting in my mouth or protein or snacking or anything else. I'm just going to make sure it isn't carbs. Well, then you really don't have any idea of what you're actually doing. 3 reasons data tracking is key. You can discover what works because success leaves clues, and you can clearly see what has been effective for your body with weight loss. Number 2, you can discover what doesn't work because you can go and see, well, why wasn't I making any progress? And you can go through the data and be like, aha, I'm noticing something here. The data will reveal the truth. And you can also course correct. So when you know what doesn't work, when you can clearly see what has been working, you can compare, you can make the changes, and you can discover what's stalling success and get back on track a lot quicker and a lot easier without beating yourself up quite so much. So reason number 1, you can discover what works. Success always leaves clues. And the more we focus on what is successful, the more success we're going to have. Why do you need to document what works? Well, weight loss is cause and effect. You need a record of what you did right to get the results that you got so that you can actually repeat it. Because even if you think you have a really great memory and you'll know in the future, you're not going to know in the future. Imagine if you have some document somewhere where you can just go back to it and say, okay, how was I able to lose 10 pounds that month? Blah, 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 blah. Oh, look, this is where my calorie range was. Let me try that. That's going to save you a lot of time. And not only is that going to save you a lot of time because you can go back and say, well, what worked for my body? It's going to also, as you're watching yourself progress, it's going to actually pump you up a little bit. It's going to be motivating. You're going to be able to celebrate all the things that you are doing to see success and feel more and more confident that you can continue to see success in the future because you can visually see how all of these little things are adding up to get you where you want to go. Success leaves clues. So some of the important things that I always look for is what calorie range is working best for this client. How is exercising and the amount of exercising that they're doing, how is it impacting their weight loss results? Are they not exercising? Do they need to exercise more? Like, where is exercise with this? What's working, right? And then the last thing I'm always looking for with success is trends. Is more protein helping? Is more carbs helping? Are they losing too much fat too quickly? Are they losing weight a little bit too slowly? Where is that good range for them as we're going through this process? And also verbal feedback. Maybe I'm looking at it and saying, I think we can bump it up a little bit. And they're saying, no, I really like the pace I'm at. I really like the food I'm eating. Okay, great. Then we're great. But success will always leave clues. Here's an example of what that looks like. This is a data tracking sheet that I use with all of my clients. This particular client came to me wanting to lose about 10 pounds or so, really 10 to 15 pounds, wanting to get to 130 ultimately was the ultimate goal. So started at 144, and I initially had set her macros because we were doing macronutrients and her calories here, and then noticed that we're not really getting anywhere. We're just kind of bouncing around within this same area. So I ended up adjusting. Protein I raised just slightly, and then we changed dramatically the carbs. We went up to 135 here, where we were at 118, and then fat, we dropped the fat to 50, 49, from 62, because initially it was, I don't think I can have carbs. Okay, so that wasn't working. We changed the carbs around, and guess what? Look, that was a good thing. We liked it. Look, big changes, big. It's starting to see some big changes happen, right? That was the secret sauce for her, and that made her super excited because she loved eating carbs. So when we saw that this was the formula, this was the thing that was getting success, all we had to do was just kind of tweak it a little bit around that. Eventually we ended up going even lower with fat and higher with carbs because that's what she enjoyed and wanted, and we were able to go all the way down here to week 11 to 134, where she had reached that 10-pound mark. So success is going to leave clues, and you're going to be able to go to and see, my body really liked carbs, and I really liked it when I was doing that. We can start there. So just imagine what would happen if you could clearly see what's working for your body, and it was indisputable. You have the data, so there's no second guessing. You can be like, nope, that worked for me. I know it feels like I shouldn't be able to eat that many carbs, but clearly my body did really well with it, right? What would that be like if you had that at your disposal to use in your weight loss journey? Reason number 2, you can discover what doesn't work as well, because the data will reveal the truth, and the truth will set you free. So back over here, remember with this client initially, and there's always kind of a little testing phase that I go through with everybody to learn the body, usually a couple of weeks. Well, here, if we hadn't have tracked all of this, I wouldn't have been able to see, this low carb thing and high fat thing, your body doesn't like that. It's not working. So having that data is going to reveal the truth, because you're going to be able to see we're not getting anywhere. And that truth is going to lead you to where you need to go next. So why document what doesn't work? Well, when things aren't working, you need to get rooted in the truth. You need to understand what's not working so that you can do things differently. Truth will always point you in the right direction. When you don't have that data, you don't have the ability to be pointed in the right direction to try things differently. And honestly, when you don't have that data, you lose that accountability. So you become more susceptible to lies. You may not know what's working. The truth might be that you're not tracking the same way, or you're allowing extras to creep in, or you're just not exercising quite the same. When you track all of that, it's much harder to start creating stories, because when you see the data, and this will happen sometimes when my client's giving me a story about hormones being out of whack, and I'm like, well, according to my data, you're not even hitting your calorie goal, so let's start there. Then they have to say, oh yeah, right, about that. So documenting what doesn't work will also call you out on behavior. I know it's not something we always like to face, but if you're serious about your weight loss, you need to know what the pitfalls are, what you're not showing up and doing, so that you can course correct and change it. So here's a great example. Here's one client. Her goal when we first started working together was, I just want to get out of the 220s. I keep going around this mountain so many times. I'm so sick of seeing 220. I want to get into the teens. So that was our primary focus when we started to work together. So I set her calorie levels, and she started to track and everything. And here's where we were at on that first week. And she's eating 1576, and she's at 222. And then she does see like 2 pounds come off, so she's super happy. She's eating 1600, still a little bit below where I want her to be, but she's seeing a change. And then all of a sudden, now we're going back up to about almost 222. And her calories came back down, and then she kind of yo-yoed down a little bit again, but still not really all that great. Look, we're at 222 basically here, 219 here for a second, but really we're still stuck at that 220 range. And she started to get really frustrated at this point. I looked at the data, and I said, girl, you're supposed to be eating 1,681 calories, and you are not. You need to raise your calories. We've got to get you higher. Then you're going to see yourself drop past that plateau. We did. She got a little more in her here. And then all of a sudden we saw that the scale started to change. We started to see a different average begin to take shape. And then she started to oscillate now between 218, 217, and 220 became the high water mark instead of the low water mark. And look, all because she's eating more calories. So when we saw what wasn't working, i.e. under eating, not eating enough food here wasn't working, we were to course correct, you need to eat some more food, and voila, we were able to start to break that plateau. So when you discover what doesn't work, you have a lot of power at your disposal. And just imagine, what would knowing what doesn't work do for you in your weight loss journey? What would knowing that information do if you could look at, oh, this is what worked, this is what didn't work, and I can see every time I undereat, it doesn't work, and every time I eat up to my calories, it does work. How much more clear, how much more simple and easy could that make this weight loss journey and this process for you? Reason number 3, being able to course correct, which is really what I've been illustrating to you this whole time with both of those scenarios. Because when you have the data and you see what works, what doesn't work, you can compare, you can make changes, you can discover what's truly stalling your success, because as you see the trends, you can say, well, I'm noticing this, so I wonder if what I need to do is this, try it and see if things change. You need to be able to course correct to avoid insanity, right? What's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over and over again while expecting different results. And this is what people do all the time with fad dieting, because they're not tracking, they're not looking at the data, they're not taking a scientific approach to this. You'd never do this anywhere else in life. Do you want a pilot of an airplane to get in an airplane and be like, I'm not going to use any of my instruments today. I'm just going to fly by how I feel. I heard a really great tip. A co-pilot told me I should just keep my eye on the sun, and we're just going to try that today. You wouldn't get in that plane, right? No, you wouldn't. We need data so that we can figure out how to get from point A to point B and to know if we are off course. To do it any other way is going to be insane. Here's another example of this person that I was working with. Initially, came to me, just kept yo-yoing, right? High water mark of 148, low water mark of 145, and just kept bouncing back and forth really between those numbers. And so we played with a bunch of different macros and some combinations here. Here we have 1,266 calories, 1,334, 1,264. None of this was working for her. So we course corrected, we made a big change, and then we set the calories at 1175, which actually became more of a magic number for her with her age, her body, and the amount of exercise she did. Normally, I don't like to see calories go that low, but this particular person was a tiny person and an older person who didn't do a whole lot of exercise, so it did fit for their particular body. Please don't think 1175 is necessarily right for you. Go by the calories I have given you because I've calculated it for you. But 1175 seemed to be a magic number. Once again, keeping carbs really high, keeping fat really low. And then voila, once we got there, we were able to start to oscillate out of here back to 143, 144, and then 143. Then finally, it's working, 141, and then progressively coming back down. This is why the data is so important. So imagine being able to look at a chart like that, being able to assess what's happening, and being able to know exactly what you need to do next. It's so freeing because we create so many judgments that are unnecessary based around not having the true information, not having the truth, and not having the data. And the truth will always set you free. One more reason I want to hit on why tracking is important. And this is a biggie. I haven't spent a lot of time on it, but this is a big one. You can focus your attention on building successful habits when your focus is on tracking, rather than only focusing on the outcome. Did the scale move? Did the scale move? We want to take the focus off of that. We want to use the scale as feedback, but we want to focus on the habits. Too often people only focus on the outcome, and so they get disappointed and they never develop the habits required to stay the course and see success. Over here with this client, she wasn't discouraged when we were here. We were going to fact find and we were going to stay the course. We were going to figure out from the data what wasn't working. We did. We figured it out. And now that we figured it out, we don't have to go back here ever again. We didn't lose ground by figuring this out. We gained a whole lot of ground in the end because now we know exactly what works and now we could develop a plan. So getting that skill set, getting that plan developed and getting focused on what is the ultimate success habit we need to cultivate so that we can see the results we want to see behind it. That's the goal. That's what you're looking for. Most people never develop those habits. They don't stay the course. They're not patient. And so they don't see the results and they don't know what they need to do every time to get there. Tracking data. There's no way you can go wrong. Tracking data will help you develop the skills for success and show you the trends that work best for your body over time. That is the bottom line. Tracking allows you to clearly see what is and isn't working for your body. It shows you the truth about your efforts, what you are doing, what you're not doing, what needs to improve, what needs to change, so you can take full ownership over your action and over your results. So, without further ado, today, I want you to focus on tracking. I want you to focus on hitting that calorie goal within 50 calories if possible. Get in some type of movement or exercise if you can. Ideally 30 minutes, 20 is fine. I'll even take 10. Right now it's important to just focus on getting that habit in and learning how to do that. And then fill in your check-in sheet, of course, tonight so we can assess and see where you're at, and I can help you and help you make progress throughout this week. And of course, if you have any questions about any of this material, please reach out to me through the private Facebook group. All right, have a great rest of your day. We'll talk tomorrow.